Good morning, it's Leslie here with YYC Knits. Well, it might be afternoon or evening for you people, but it's morning for me, so good morning. I just dropped my little kids at the bus and I just thought I'd come back here and make a video, just a really basic video on supplies that you're going to need to get started with knitting. So I haven't done a super basic video as of yet, so I'm gonna try. It's a little difficult for me to teach how to knit, like the knit stitch, the purl stitch, but basically in knitting there's two stitches. There's a knit and a purl, and with those two stitches you can do anything. The sky's the limit. So I just want to show you here just some of the supplies that you're going to need in getting started knitting. So I've got a bunch of stuff here out on the table. So basically you're going to need yourself a pair of scissors. These are rather large, but I just basically confiscate from my kids what I can at the moment. So a pair of scissors is always handy. I just got a new package of these because they seem to disappear, but these are the Boy Yarn darning needles, and basically they've got a nice big head on them that you can put a nice chunky yarn through and weave in your loose ends for when you're finished your project. So these are really great. I would definitely recommend, and I'm not getting paid by Boy, by the way. I'm also not getting paid by Knitter's Pride, but I have a set of chunky Knitter's Pride needles for knitting bulky yarns with, and, well, anything really. I've also got a set, quite a bit of these Clover Takumi bamboo knitting needles, and these are double pointed needles. We'll get into a little bit of that later. Here's just knitting needles, singular, nice, long, big guys. These are great for starting out. If you want to knit something like a scarf, you're just going to go from one needle to another. These are great too. Those were probably one of my first sets that I started with, knitting scarves. And then you could also use a set of circular needles to knit a scarf with. So the nice thing about these is you're not going to lose a needle in your knitting bag. One's not going to get away from you because they're attached. And you can just knit from one to another. So you don't need to join it and work in the round like they're kind of designed to do. You can just knit like you would on this set here, back and then forth and back and forth on these, and your work's gonna stay nice. You're not gonna lose a needle, like I said. I tend to do a lot of knitting using the magic loop method, because you can knit a hat from start to finish using magic loop. You just use a nice long cord on a set of circular needles, and it's all you need. You don't need to stop and put your work onto double points and work in the round. From there, you just knit the whole thing on here, sleeves, thumbs, you name it. And that works really good for me because I just don't like changing my needles all the time. When I first started knitting hats, I have a whole set of hat needles here that I've just shoved into my Knitter's Pride set. So I'll just, I don't know if you can see that there, but I'll just grab a set of these out. I've got a bunch of different kinds, Takumi bamboos and just these little cheapies, but you know, they're shorter to begin with, and you just knit your hat all the way up in the round on these. So you can start with a smaller amount of stitches, like 60 or 80 or 120, whatever your hat calls for. You just cast on, do your ribbing, knit up. But the thing is, is that eventually when you start decreasing your stitches, you're not going to be able to, you're going to have to go to a set of double points to finish your hat off. So rather than going this method, I just switched to using, and this might be too advanced for you. You might be getting really good and confused. So we'll just keep it simple. So this is my set of Knitter's Pride. I'm not getting any endorsements from them. I like them. They're a nice needle. They're interchangeable. So you've got your different cable lengths and you've got your different sizes, and they come up to an 8 mil. So then I bought my chunky set to go. I think these started at 10 mil. So you're missing a 9 in there, I believe. And I've got my 9s here, so, you know, we're all good. If I were to buy a set of knitting needles today, this is what I would do. I would wait for the 50% coupon to come out at Michael's. And I just took my mom there the other day and got her a set of needles. We bought the Takumi interchangeable set. I think they're around $225, $230 regular price. So when the 50% coupon goes out, you grab that and you go in there and you buy those needles, and they're absolutely beautiful. They have a swivel right here where your cable goes into your connector, and it swivels. So not even my Knitter's Pride does that, and they're a dream to work with. They've got a nice sharp tip, which is great for, you know, intricate knitting, lace knitting. They'd be a good set of needles to get you right through from beginning to end. So those are the needles that I would go and buy if you're looking to buy a set of knitting needles. Really great needles. And again, I'm not being paid by Takumi. I wish that I was. So basic learn to knit. You know, depending on what you choose, I wouldn't recommend knitting on something like this starting out, because they're really clumsy and they're hard to maneuver, and you know it's tough enough when you're starting to learn to knit. So if someone steers you in this direction, you know, this video might help to steer you away. So basically, I'm gonna show you on my 9 mil Takumi circular needle how to knit back and forth, and hopefully this helps. So I've got my yarn here. This is our yarn that I hand dye. I sell it on my website, yycknits.com, and I would definitely recommend starting out with a beautiful yarn to work with. The acrylics, you know, I don't like putting them on my kids because the acrylic yarns will melt in a fire and glue right to your skin. These beautiful yarns that we sell on our website, they're 100% merino wool. I've got a merino silk blend. We're coming out with more every day. They're hand dyed right in my kitchen, and they're flame retardant. They're water repellent. They're warm as can be. They keep you warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and there's nothing better than a natural fiber. So I'm a yarn snob and I don't knit with acrylic. That's where you'll end up when you get like me. So I love knitting. It brings me so much joy. Knitting has just brought so many wonderful people into my life, and it's just been really great. We knit at Gooders in Creekside in Calgary on Tuesday nights from 6:30 to 9:30. You're welcome to come and join us anytime. But for now, I'm going to show you how to cast on. There's about 1 million different ways to cast on, which is getting the stitches onto your needle so you can start knitting. So basically, I'm going to show you one way, but there's so many, many more. Say we're gonna cast on 20 stitches, we need about a foot of yarn. So we're gonna go even over that a little, like 18 inches, because we've got a bulky yarn. So I'm gonna hold the yarn between my thumb and finger, and I never like to put knots in my yarn. So I'm gonna go in here like this and around, and that's how I put my yarn on my needles. So for the second stitch, I'm going to go around my thumb, around the pointer, and through, and that's one. And this is probably one of the easiest ways that you could cast on stitches. We've already got 3 around the thumb, around the pointer, that's 4, around the thumb, around the pointer, that's 5. So we're just holding our yarn. We've got our ball over here, our center pull ball. We've got our tail on our thumb side, and we're just holding the yarn like this. We're gonna put our hands kind of up like this, and we're gonna go around the thumb, around the pointer, and pull it tight. So a couple of my friends have asked me to do a video, a learn to knit video, and it's hard when you know how to knit to kind of go and backtrack and work on some of the simpler skills, like the basics. So I'm hoping that this does it. You know, best thing to do is keep it simple, take it slow. Everything takes time. You go to do anything new, and you know, practice makes perfect. I tell my kids all the time. So you're just separating your yarn with these 2 fingers, your pointer finger and your thumb. I kind of grab it and hold it with my pinky and my index finger there, and I'm going around the thumb, around the pointer, and pulling it. Around the thumb, around the pointer, and pulling it. So we've got this neat little cast on edge that we've got here, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13. So we've got 14, and as you can see, our tail is getting smaller, 15. So we maybe needed a few more than 18 inches to start. 17, 18. So so we'll leave it at 17 actually. I think we've got 17 on there. So you can see that that cast on, how nice that looks. It looks like a little rope. And that's how to cast on stitches. And so if we're gonna, so don't worry about any of this wire that's here. We're not gonna even think about that. We're just using these 2 wooden needles. So just put that out of your mind that that's even there. We've got our yarn here. We're gonna stick this in here from front to back. We're gonna take our yarn ball. Sometimes I've taken my tail in the past if it's a little longer and started knitting with that and then promptly ran out of yarn. So try not to do that, but if you do, it's no big deal. So we're going to take our needle and we're going to stick it into that stitch, and we're going to go around the needle, pull it up and off. So again, we're going to go in, around, pull it through, up and off. So we're knitting a stitch, we're doing a knit, and we're transferring that stitch from the left needle onto the right needle. I like to keep my stitches close to the end of my needle, but not too close. Okay, that they're going to fall off, up and around, and off. And we're knitting. We're doing a knit stitch. So this would make a great little scarf, and this would be a good project to start on. You know, it's nice and simple. So you're going in, around, pull it up and off. In, around, pull it up and off onto the, so you're just transferring onto your right hand needle. So now we've got all the stitches moved from this needle here on the left to this needle here on the right. And as you can see, we've got a whole row knit. So we're going to turn our work around. We're going to grab this needle and not be concerned about any of the wire or anything. And we're going to put our needle. So we've got all the little purl bumps on this side because when we knit the stitches onto the needle, when we turn our work, this is the purl side of the work. And if you can see, all these little bumps, these look like little pearls. So this is the purl side of our work. So we're going to pull our tail down, and we are just going to be working these stitches, these that are on the needle, okay, right here, the same as we just did on the other side. We're going to stick our needle in, work it around, through, and off. In, around, through, and off. In, around, through, and off. So eventually we're going to have a whole line of Takumi Clover needles on our website. We're going to have that set from Michaels, but it's going to take us a little time to get going, but eventually, yes, you'll be able to go on to yycknits.com and purchase yourself a set of needles, a skein of yarn, and get busy. So we're increasing our shop every day. So we've just knit another row now, and as you can see, it's coming right along. So we're going to turn our work around again. Our tail is always on the right hand side of our work. I've found teaching knitters, new knitters, beginner knitters, that they tend to mess up this first stitch here because they don't know where to put the needle. So all we're looking at is this one string that's over our needle. That's where our needle is gonna go. In, around, through, and off. So you can see all those little purl bumps there. It's gonna go right above that little bump. You're gonna stick your needle in right above that little bump. And this is all you need to practice, is knit, knit, knit. And you'll grasp the concept fairly quickly. You could knit an 8-foot scarf and wrap it around your neck a whole bunch of times and look super stylish. All right. This is 100% organic merino wool, and it's just like so soft and so buttery and so squishy, and it's like wonderful to work with. It's called North Glenmore Park. All of my yarns are named after a different park in our city, in our great city. And you can find it on Ravelry. One of the best things that you could do as a new knitter is make yourself a Ravelry account. That's Ravelry. You go in, you sign up. They don't ever email you any garbage. There's no hassles. You just make yourself an account, grab a username and a password, and it's an amazing resource for knitters to be able to post their projects. Look at other free projects. There's millions of free patterns on there. There's a lot of paid patterns from designers like myself who have spent hours of painstaking labor designing a pattern for you to knit, so you can purchase your patterns on there as well. We're on there as YYC Knits, and that's our username. And you can go on there and see all of my latest and greatest projects. You can see what needle size I used, what yarn I used, what my comments were, how I changed or modified the pattern. It's just an unbelievable resource. You can go on there and type in a yarn and see that there's been 2.5 million projects made from that particular yarn, what they made, how it looks, people's pictures of their projects, what needle size they used, and their comments, how they would change it if they were to knit it again. So it's a really great resource to just go to, and I'll always look up a pattern before I start it, before I knit it, to see what people's comments are, how they would change it if they were to do it again, because why not learn from someone else's mistakes? So we've got this beautiful fabric. Some reason there's been a lot of red and green coming out of my dye pots. 'Tis the season. So we're still knitting. We're just knitting away. This is one stitch that we need, and we're gonna knit a beautiful scarf. And we're knitting on these double pointed needles. Can you believe that? We're knitting on these circular needles. These are a 9mm needle. They are the Takumi needles, and you can buy them at Michael's. Eventually you'll be able to pick them up on our website, which will be great. So check first if you get a chance, because we should get them in stock shortly. So as you can see, a bulky yarn, a bulky needle is gonna make your knitting go really quickly. So we've already got quite a bit here in a lovely scarf. So it's looking great. So pretty. You can put tassels on it at the end. And so this is where knitters have problems. So they don't know, new knitters, they don't know where to stick the needle here at the beginning. So if you pull this up like this, you might want to stick it in here. This could be a real mess. So keep your knitting neat. We've got our ball over here, our center pole ball, and we're gonna pull, when we turn our work, we're gonna pull this down, and you can see that there's all these stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you should always have the same amount of stitches that you started with, so that can be a good measure when you're starting out. So we're going to pull our work down. We're going to always keep this pulled down so we can see our stitch over our needle, and that stitch is where we're going to stick this needle in to knit this first stitch. And now we just knit on top of those purl bumps the whole way. That first stitch can be a little bit loosey-goosey, a little bit misleading, a little bit difficult for you. So just be careful with that. You know, if you're learning, you can also hold your yarn on this side here. You can wrap it over your finger and then around and around your pinky a couple times, and you can go in, and this is called picking. This is continental style, and you can pick it this way, but I'm a thrower, a yarn thrower. My camera's not focusing so well. But you know, if you find this easier, by all means, this is a faster way to knit once you get going. So you're going in. Let's see if I can get a close-up of this. You're going in, you're going around that yarn, you're picking it around that yarn, through and off. So that's another option for you. Oops, if you find it easier, which obviously I'm struggling with, but that's because it's not my style. It's not the way that I knit. That's continental. By all means, try that way, and if that works better for you, you're better off to begin with, starting as a continental knitter. That's how people speed knit and get a lot of mileage really quickly, but I am a thrower. So that's how I knit. That's how I was taught, and that's just what I learned to be comfortable with, but whatever you're comfortable with. So share this video with all your friends who want to learn to knit. I made it for my friends who want to learn to knit, and this is the knit stitch. So I'm not going to teach you how to do a purl stitch, because first you need to master the knit stitch and get really, really good at it, because we only have one more stitch to learn, and from those 2 stitches, my goodness. So we're going to turn our work around. Our tail is always on this side. We're going to pull it down. We've got that little purl bump there. So we're going to put our needle in right over top of that purl bump there. Oops, grabbing the wrong needles. Get this stuff out of the way. So right on top of that little purl bump, we're going to go in, around, down, and off. So keep practicing. Practice makes perfect, and you will be able to do this. It's a little bit tricky at first, but you will be able to master the knit stitch eventually, and we will go on from there. So, learn to knit. I hope you enjoyed my Learn to Knit video. I'm sorry it was so lengthy, but you know, we covered a myriad of things. We learned, you know, if you're going to go buy a set of needles, all you really need are a set of these suckers, and away you go. You can do anything with these. You can join your work. You can load this needle right up with stitches, and then you can join it to work it in the round, and you can work a circle, which would make a lovely cowl to put around your neck. So you can do a lot of things with these needles here, and it doesn't really matter what size cable you get. Maybe to start out with, get a shorter cable, but as we grow and learn, like a 24 or a 30-inch cable would be great, because then we can really make anything using the magic loop method. So happy knitting! And I hope you have success. If there's anything you want to see me do on a video, just shoot me a message, and I would love to teach you. Happy knitting!